And we are so glad. Okay. Well, thank you. Yay. Thank you so much for joining us. We're very, very glad to be back with you again. We are sharing some very, very important information and giving you a glimpse into what we look for when we're partnering with professionals and students within BJC HealthCare. So I am Jennifer Irvin. I am out of BJC School Outreach and Youth Development. And my co-presenter, I will let her introduce herself and tell you all the great things she is responsible for. Her name is Amanda. Go ahead, Amanda.
Thank you. My name is Amanda Mohl. I'm the Workforce Diversity Coordinator at BJC HealthCare. I'm in the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. I do a lot of different things, just like Jennifer. We've got our hands in a lot of buckets and a lot of projects, which is always fun. But I specifically help to support our employee resource groups, which are we call our connections groups. I also help with our BJC career. Let's see, it's our DIP, Career Development Internship Program. I had to think through all my acronyms. And then obviously, you know, I work with School Outreach and Youth Development with Miss Irvin here. So a lot of fun things that we get to do at BJC, and this is one of them. So we're so excited to be with you guys today. So I think we're just going to go ahead and start. We've only got an hour, so we want to make sure we get everything in and have time for you guys to do your Q&A, because I know that that's always important because you got some questions. So basically, we are BJC, right? We are made up of a lot of different what we call health and service organizations, HSOs. And so we're a system that if you see on the slide, all of these different hospitals, all of these different organizations, you may have gone to one and not necessarily known that you were at a BJC facility, because we all work together as a system, even though we are at individual hospitals and whatnot. So over, you know, all of our full system, I think we have about 14 or 15 HSOs, and there are a lot of opportunities. We always talk about how we have about 31,000 caregivers, so 31,000 among all of these HSOs employees. And where you start at BJC is not necessarily going to be where you end at BJC because of all the opportunities. And so what we want to do right now is we're going to show you a quick video that just kind of talks about our learning and development opportunities at BJC. For some folks, and I wish I'd known this when I was younger, at BJC, your first day of employment, you have tuition assistance. It's available to you. And so you can come in and you can really, again, just start your career and figure out where you want to go and use all of these opportunities and these resources and these tools in order to grow your career. So let me go ahead and show you this quick video. Maybe. Yep, there we go.
Play. At the corner of I-64 and Hanley sits an incredible center to promote learning and development. The BJC Institute for Learning and Development is also known as BUILD. It's a resource that's available to all of our employees to promote their career development and success in their role and future roles.
When I started for BJC, actually I started with Christian Hospital 29 years ago. When I started thinking about going back to school, my first fear was I did not want to have to go down to a school and do all that registering, or I just could not put that on my plate with 4 children and a husband. And well, BJC made the process to go to school so much easier. They kept track of all of it. If I missed something, they would definitely tell me I missed it, but it made it very easy, and it took a lot of it off your shoulders to be able to concentrate more on the schooling itself. And the building for the Institute was so nice to be able to be here. It was all with the covered parking and just being able to go, you know, across the bridge and just go right to class. It was just very beneficial. I did graduate May 19th. It was probably as exciting as, I guess, almost when you get married. It's just that unbelievable experience. It's really happening. If BJC did not offer this, I would not have my degree right now.
I came to BJC right out of pharmacy school, and I was able to start benefiting from tuition assistance as well as the classes online. I explored the Master's of Science in Healthcare Informatics mainly because I wanted to use it to set myself apart from every other pharmacist that's out there. The doors that I believe that has opened is really something I have not yet tapped into. However, I will be starting the Executive MBA program at Washington University in April. I would not have had these opportunities if it were not for BJC's Build program. I've been a part of several health systems. I've never seen such a robust set of resources that's offered to employees to evolve as leaders, and very thankful for what BJC has provided for me.
My career path within BJC initially started within human resources, but my passion has always been within information services. I took advantage of the tuition reimbursement through completing my master's with Webster University. And then I also joined into the Starting Line leadership program, which really helped pique my interest a little bit further in assuming a leadership position within BJC. And to further that development, I enrolled into the leadership certificate program. It was probably a clustering of different class offerings that helped sharpen my leadership skills, helped me to be a more effective leader to the team that I serve for today. BJC helped a tremendous amount. There was a lot of flexibility and autonomy with my schedule. They also supported me wholeheartedly with wanting me to continue to be successful here within the organization.
I had a bachelor's degree since the 80s. Then I had a master's too, but then I decided to go for an MBA because I knew that it would open so many doors for me. I started using the cohort program that BJC offers, which is offered in St. Louis, and this is about 90 minutes away from my home and Farmington, the place that I work. So it was hard for me to go to St. Louis twice a week. Then I decided to go with an online university, taking advantage of the BJC reimbursement program. It took me about 3 years to complete my MBA, but it was a great satisfaction. I was so happy. My whole family, we went to the graduation. It was a big celebration. It's great. BJC is a wonderful company to work for. It has so much to offer that we can use every day.
BJC is so large. You have so many opportunities available to you.
Anyone that's interested in pursuing a career within BJC, absolutely take advantage of all the different offerings because how you start may not be how you end your career at BJC, because the possibilities are definitely endless.
If you're looking for it in healthcare, BJC has it. Whether you're wanting to hone your leadership skills, computer skills, whether you want to get a college degree, I've been able to benefit from all of them.
If you're looking for an employer who wants to invest in you and you have the opportunity to grow your career, BJC is the right place for you.
Right. So again, we always like to show that video just to get people excited. Again, you know, where you start is not necessarily going to be where you end. I actually work with Kiana, who was featured in there, and she went from information services back to HR, and now she's doing some policy work that she's been really passionate about. So definitely, we hope that, you know, when you guys start looking at jobs and places to work, that you keep BJC in mind. But for our purposes here today, we are going to be talking about professional presence, okay? And so for our objectives, we want to just kind of start in with understanding what is professional presence. What does that look like? What does that sound like? What does that mean to you? First impressions is a big part of professional presence, talking about appropriate behavior, appropriate dress, how do you show up and be professional. Then we're going to move into, Ms. Irvin's going to talk about effective communication. What does that mean? What do you need to keep in mind? What are some ways that you can practice so that you can have a better sense of communication and be more effective? And then talking about self-awareness. So much of getting into, you know, your career and your work life is knowing who you are, knowing what your triggers are, knowing what your strengths are, your weaknesses are, and being able to communicate that to folks. And so these are the things that we're going to go over today during our hour together. All righty. So, and we're going to be using the chat quite a bit. So I want to go ahead and have you guys in the chat. I want you to tell me professional presence. What is it? Finish that sentence. Professional presence is.
Yeah,
And
go ahead.
I was going to say, and while you're doing that, I saw that the question, the chat. So all of our HSOs are either in the metro area, or I think the farthest ones that we have are Farmington and then Sullivan, which is a little bit more into southern Missouri. And then we also have some on the Illinois side, Alton. We also have Shiloh and Belleville. And any other ones I'm missing? Sometimes it's hard to keep track of everybody.
You may see, like I know in Edwardsville, we have a BJ. We have some medical groups as well. So you may see BJC medical groups in and around, but we are pretty much, if you visit our website, it shows what Amanda showed you, but also talks about our medical groups and where some of those are strategically located. So, yeah.
So you'll see that BJC logo in a lot of different places.
Right. So I'm starting to get some answers. As you drop your answers in the chat, I'll just let Amanda know what you're saying, and you are all on the right course. So far, I'll just give you a few of them, Amanda. What is professional presence? It's dressing the part. Very good. How you present yourself in a professional setting. How you present yourself in the workplace. There's a ditto to that one. I like professional presence is self-confidence, control, and style. Very good. Perfect. It's how you present yourself around people like your boss and not your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
That's a good catch. That's a very good catch. So thank you all for those great answers. How you introduce yourself. You definitely correct on that one. How you introduce yourself, that may make a difference whether the conversation continues or thank you for coming.
Exactly. Thank you. So those are all perfect. So when we look at what is professional presence, it's how you show up, it's how you behave, and it's your attitude, right? So the goal of professional presence in general is to instill confidence in others around your abilities and your general competence to be able to get things done, to solve problems. So when you think of professional presence, think of all of it wrapped up into how you send out that message to others that I'm capable and I know what I'm doing. And I always want to bring up too, that even if I don't know like how to answer your question, or I don't know, how to fix that problem, I am going to have the skills and the tools to be able to figure that out. Right. I learned that as a librarian, where anyone comes at you with any question, I always know, like, I may not know that answer, but I'm going to help you figure it out. And find it. So I think that's important to think about through as well. All right. So good. So we are good to go on what is professional presence. So first impressions are super important. So we are going to really quickly go through a few pictures, and I want you to, again, in the chat, I want you to put in what was your first impression of each person, and then tell me what gave you that impression. So what were the details about the image? And again, we're thinking about, someone being a candidate coming in to apply for a job. So think of it in that tone. I will give you a caveat that these are all models. So, because they're all from the internet. So try not to think about that part. But just if you had a candidate that came in this way. So here's our first one. And I want you to tell me, what is your first impression of this individual and why?
Remember, he's coming in for that job. There he is. So what's your impression? If you all type at once, it'll get clogged up. So, one at a time, please. In the chat. Okay. Need a tie?
I love it. Yep.
Okay. He looks more casual than formal. Good point. He looks like he just got out of bed, the jeans. He looks smart, but doesn't look like he's dressed for an interview. Too casually dressed. So that's not a consensus. Very laid back. Yeah, he is pretty laid back.
Exactly.
Looks normal, and I'm not a fan of
button up. I love that.
Well, I like the one that says he looks normal, and I'm not a fan of ties. Well, we'll talk about, that might be appropriate. It all depends.
Depends on where you're going, where you're interviewing.
he's applying for a job that's more casual what he's wearing. So we've got a good mesh of replies to that. And then the last one I'll read is that he needs on some slacks. So, okay.
He's got those jeans on. So maybe, he kind of looks more to me like he's going to like a startup where they play ping pong all the time and have like the funky little like chairs that they all sit in and whatnot. So a little bit casual. I agree with all of those. You guys got them down. Perfect. All right. What about our next one? Thoughts. First impression and why? And I'll also, while you guys are putting those in there, I'll say that researchers have found out, I know this because I teach implicit bias classes, and they say that everybody basically judges or, gets a first impression off of people because of two things. They look for warmth, meaning are they friendly? Do they have a good smile? Would I approach them? And they look for competence, which is, do they know what they're doing? And both of those things are really important with professional development.
Okay.
Professional presence.
And so on this one, we say she's well dressed for the interview. She looks professional and approachable. She looks ready for the interview and she looks confident. Yeah. Perfect outfit. It is formal and she looks appropriate.
Definitely. Definitely.
She's got some pretty good ratings there.
Exactly. All right, then we got to keep going. All right. Next one. What about this GQ guy?
Amanda, can you clarify, is this just a general type of job interview? Is it a specific industry?
Nope, just general.
Just general.
Because we know that, depending on where you go, depending on what their dress code is, it may be different.
Right.
So what do you think? Okay, I'll throw out some. Okay, let's say, for example, he is coming to interview. He's coming into my office to interview with me for a job at BJC. He wants to be a legal analyst. Is he dressed appropriate to be a legal analyst?
Yeah.
And then let's look at another scenario. So he probably, legal analyst, he's cool. Yeah, he looks very suave. So yes, I would definitely interview him. However, if he was interviewing with me, and again, I own this construction firm and he's coming out to my work site and he's going to interview to be a construction worker and an electrician, I got on my jeans and I'm all, so it depends on, I like the point. And we know that it depends on what he's interviewing for. Well, we're looking from your mindset, if he was coming, an interview first impression, what is your first impression of this gentleman dressed like this going on an interview, trying to get a job?
Looks like we've got some perfectly dressed. He looks professional, very professional. Also looks like he's ready to work. Nice. So maybe even just that body language, kind of moving forward, more like less passive, I guess. He is probably going to get the job based on looks. Well, he is a model, so he probably wore this when he went to his model interview.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if this one, maybe this is an overlap. Okay, that was an overlap. I backed up to one. I was like, They say he should chose a different pair of pants. I'm like, Let's check. Okay, let me stay on point here. Okay, all right.
So perfect. So first impression, he looks mature and going to get the jobs. Love it. All right, and our last one in this series. What's our first impression? I see a no. I love it.
No, but why?
Yeah, you got to give us a why.
What's more about her? Yeah,
too much skin. Yep.
Good answer. Yeah.
She looks afraid. Yeah. So a little bit too nervous, right?
Like she's going to a party.
Got to show that confidence. Yep. Exactly. She looks tentative, like she's not sure. She's not showing that she's capable.
I love that. It's an interview, not a picnic. Good catch.
Yes, exactly. She's just wearing a nice little sundress, right? Perfect. Yeah. And so even just her sense of like, if she's warmth, she doesn't necessarily exude warmth in terms of, bringing people in and engaging folks. All right, perfect. You guys are on spot. I love it. Thank you. All right, so now once again, you are the interviewer and you are going in and you see these 4 people in the waiting room. Who are you wanting to bring in? Like, who looks like the one that you want to talk to about a job that you've got? You can say 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, I see a lot
You
of
just put a
4.
number.
4 is leading real heavy. 4, 4, 4. I see a lot of
Okay.
4s coming in. So yay. Looks like number 4 is ruling the
winner.
yeah, number 4 has it. But
Perfect.
why not 2? Why not number 2? What's up with 2? And you can feel free if you don't want to type. You can turn your mic on and just.
He's sleepy. I was just
yeah,
about to say that. He looks sleepy.
yeah.
Uninterested? Number 2, definitely. 1 definitely is not interested in what's going on. 3, you know, could be, you know, looking at the LinkedIn profile for the person that he's interviewing with, could be doing some last minute research on the company. On the other hand, he could have the speakerphone on and he's talking to his mom, and that's awkward, right? So
only the speakerphone. I mean, if you're talking business and you're on the speakerphone, I'll be like, oh, I wish they turned that phone down. But what really gets under my skin is when you're sitting waiting to meet with me and you have that Snapchat and that all that stuff, and you can hear all the background things. So yeah, first impressions.
Exactly. All right, and our last image to look at. Now we're going to think about from the clinical setting. So again, you are going to interview someone for a clinical position. What's our impressions of these ladies here? And why?
They're all well dressed and in proper attire. Very good. Good answer. Yes, they definitely are. Warm and welcoming. Look at the smiles on their faces.
The soft eyes.
No attitude.
Yeah. They look friendly. Perfect. Neat. Put together. All right. Good job, guys. Very good. So when we talk about first impressions, again, these happen in like the first 7 seconds that you meet someone, right? So your brain decides, I see this and I'm going to make an assumption. I'm going to fill in the blanks. I don't really know you, so I'm going to fill in the blanks from what I see here. So you really honestly only get one chance, right? And even if that impression is wrong, it still has real world consequences. So we like to use the phrasing, others' perception is your reality. As unfortunate as that is, it's true, and especially when you're going into the professional world. So in thinking about that, have you guys ever formed the wrong impression about someone because of the way they looked? Yes or no? Yep. So everybody does it. If you are, again, I teach implicit bias, and if you are a human and you have a brain, then you have bias and you do this, right? So we're going to take that into account. Everybody does it. And so we just need to be prepared about it, prepared for it, and make sure that we put our best foot forward. So it sounded like you guys were totally on this in terms of how to show up and what to look like for first impressions. So I'm going to speed through these. But generally, what are you looking for? You're looking for knee-length skirts, closed-toe shoes, slacks. Again, if you're going for a clinical position, clinical attire, like the picture of the, I think they were mostly nurses there. Totally A-okay. You don't need to spend a ton of money on a ton of, professional interview attire. But if you get a few pieces, you can wear the exact same outfit to an interview at every company you go to. You might want two in case you get that second interview with that same company. You might want two. But you don't have to go out and get crazy, right? So you just want to make sure that you're wearing more conservative clothes that you would see more likely in the workplace. In terms of hygiene and accessories, you can kind of see all the things over here. But when we're talking about things like avoid like a lot of perfume or, maybe reduce, like if you normally wear, very pretty, like shiny jewelry or things like that, kind of reducing that, being more conservative. It's more about wanting to reduce the distractions for the interviewer, because you want them to leave not thinking, oh, what was that tattoo about? That was really interesting. Or, oh, those earrings were gorgeous. Or, oh, I'm totally allergic to their perfume, and so I started getting hives in the interview. You want them to be thinking, this person is amazing. This person's answers are amazing. They're confident. And you want them all focused on you and what you're saying. And so that's when we talk about things like don't chew gum, what else, nails, those types of things, just thinking about trying to reduce those distractions for the interviewer themselves.
Mhm.
So in-person interviews, I've got 2 slides. One is for in-person, because fingers crossed we're getting there. We're going to be in person. And then I've got a second slide that we'll talk about for virtual interviews, because we're also going to remain doing that. Like with BJC, I think we're going to continue doing, at least for the kind of the first interview within a series, it'll still be a virtual one. So that's going to be important for you to know. So largely for in-person interviews, again, it's how your body language, and we talked a lot about that. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about more of that later with Miss Irvin. But it's how you walk in, it's how you have your shoulders back, you're leaning forward, you're smiling. Handshakes, are always important. They always talk about, how's that handshake? And I always, eye contact is really important. That's how we connect with people. So making sure that you've got that eye contact, that can be different in different cultures. And I'm hoping that, a lot of our managers and the folks who are interviewing understand that. But if you feel comfortable to maintaining that eye contact, really shows folks a confidence and a connection. And then I always try to say their name, repeat their name when I shake their hand, because I think that's just like a little cue to my brain that just kind of like pinpoints it there, so I remember it. So that's a few things that I always think about when I'm doing an in-person interview. And then for virtual interviews, again, it's kind of like a whole other world out there, right? And number one is to test your technology, because it is going to break constantly. And it's probably the number one, anxiety that a lot of us have when it comes to all of this technology. So making sure that Zoom works, making sure that the Teams work, making sure that your monitor and everything else works. You want to make sure that you're prepping the scene. So I've got a virtual background. This one's specific for Pride. Our Spectra, which is our LGBTQIA employee resource group, put these out to have folks, show pride during June. Ms. Irvin has these gorgeous doors behind her that always look nice. But thinking about, do you have, your dirty laundry in the background? Do you have that embarrassing poster from 8th grade in the background? So think about, everything. Again, you're trying to reduce those distractions. You want to continue to dress professionally. Okay. And all professionally. Sometimes people are like, I'll just put my shorts on and have my nice clothes on. But you never know what's going to, exactly. Then you stand up. We've all seen those. And I think also when you dress professionally completely, it puts you in that mindset, right? It's a little bit more like, okay, I'm doing this now. Like if you're wearing Bermuda shorts or something under, on your bottom, and then it just doesn't necessarily put you in that space. So that's important. Monitoring your body language, that's important. So kind of, you can usually see yourself, which kind of distract folks, but kind of always making sure those shoulders are back, heads up, trying to make as much eye contact as possible with the camera, as awkward as it is. And then, take time, be yourself. I use my hands a lot, as you can tell, as I talk. And so I would do that in person. So I'm going to continue to do it when I'm in a virtual setting. And sometimes when it feels like you're just talking to this machine and there's not really somebody on the other side, you just have to kind of slow down and remind yourself, I'm just going to behave. I'm going to answer. I'm going to do everything as if I were in person, right? Because that's what you're looking for. A few other things that we think about, always make sure that you've got a phone number for your interviewer in case everything goes wrong and your technology completely goes down. You want to be able to contact them and let them know what's going on. Hopefully they can continue the interview via the phone. And distractions happen, things come up. I was just telling the folks on here before everyone got on, I've got a dog that's a little over a year old, and he decides once in a while that he likes to pop in and say hi. And so I do as much as I can to keep those distractions away. But if it happens, it happens. And we just say, take a moment. Don't act like it's not happening. If there's like a dog barking in the background or kids running around, acknowledge it, apologize for the disturbance, say, I'm going to take care of this here for a minute, go on mute, take your camera off, take care of it, come back, deep breath, and then turn everything back on and continue. Because again, they're going to be thinking about that dog barking, those kids running around, and they're not going to focus on how amazing you are. And they're going to walk out of there not focused on you. So at this point, I'm going to see, does Ms. Irvin, do you have anything else you want to add around the in-person or the virtual interviews before I hand it over?
The only thing that I wanted to touch on is when Amanda talked about during the virtual interviews, it's very, very important that you test your technology in advance. So if your interview is at 3:00, don't wait until 2:58 to try to log on to that interview, because your technology may not work. I had that to happen to me when I was getting ready to come to speak to you all. My link would not work. So I had time to reach out because I had the phone number. I knew who to call. I was able to reach out and get that resolved. That's an example from today. But let me tell you my example from yesterday. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to be an international judge in a HOSA competition. And those of you that are in high school, you know what HOSA is. HOSA is a big deal. And if you make the international competition, you are the stuff, because you're competing with Japan and all those other countries that I couldn't even name that were on this virtual competition. And one of the students, unfortunately, she was leading the pack and had us on the edge of her seat. And all of a sudden, she was disconnected. So I went to bed, and even this morning I woke up and said, oh, I wonder if we could have saw all of our presentation. I bet she would have won. And that was a huge, huge, huge prize package. So we were hoping that she would reconnect. And I said, I'm going to use that example when I'm talking to students and up and coming professionals to know that it is real. If you're in this virtual space, you have no control. You don't know what can happen. So always be prepared for the unexpected. And if you do get connected, if you get disconnected from Zoom, Skype, or any of that, try to reconnect, or at best have that person's phone number so you can reach out to them. So that is my bandwagon before I move into the next point. So what I'm going to be shifting into is talking to you about other important elements. And what we're looking at is we're focusing and we're looking at, this is what we look for within BJC. But I can guarantee that these are universal kind of things that folks look for when they're looking to hire, when they're looking to expand the work that they're doing. So communicating professionally, verbal communication is so very, very important. And I always say, stop and think before you speak, because the reality is once you say it, once it comes out of your mouth, you can never take it back. You can apologize. You can say, man, I didn't mean to say that. You can say, my bad, whatever you want to say. Once you put it out there, it has penetrated the brain of whomever you're speaking to. And I don't care whatever you say after that, it'll be like, no, she didn't say that. No, he didn't say that. Oh, no. So you got to really be conscious of your communicating. Make sure that think before you speak. Be clear and concise. Get clear and concise to me is get to the point. What is it you're trying to say? I ask you a question. Answer the question. If I ask you, what career are you interested in? I don't want to know, ever since I was 10 years old. Matter of fact, no, it was when I was 8 years old. No. What career are you interested in today? You're 25 years old. I'm not worried about what are you interested in today. Be authentic. And I just want to spend a little bit of time of being authentic. I'm not going to go through every single blurb on here. But when I say be authentic, be your authentic self, what comes to your mind? And you can either drop it in the chat or unmute yourself and be authentic and verbalize what you're thinking. When I say be authentic, what does that mean to you? And I'm like Jeopardy. Doom, 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 doom.
I know, we need some background music.
I just really want to know. When I say be authentic, because,
does that mean like being your true self?
Be you.
I like that. Be your true self. Be your true self. Now, I'm going to say something. I don't mean to step on no toes, but I'm going to tell you. So I'm just going to use myself, for example. My children, and some of you may have heard this. My children, they're all young adults now, but they'll come to me and say, Mama, Sometimes you be on the phone and you got this phone voice, and then you got this other voice. And I said, I didn't notice that. But then I said, well, I try to talk the same all the time. So you run into people like that. Or on the other hand, you be like acting other than yourself, like, yo. And that's how you are, but that's not really how you are, but that's how you act. So that may show up in an interview. So when my children brought that to my attention, I was like, no, I like my voice. I wanted to make sure that I'm being Jennifer. I'm going to be Jennifer 24/7. So when you hear me talk, you know this is me. If I call you, you're going to know it's me. So authenticity means bringing out the best of you, representing yourself. Be your authentic self. And that's the best that you can be because you're good at being yourself. You've been yourself for however long you've been on the planet. So be yourself. Self-awareness. I like that. That's a very good answer that just popped up in the chat. Self-awareness. And use an appropriate tone of voice. Nothing aggravates me more than when I'm calling a candidate for an internship or for whatever the opportunity is. Phone rings from, Tyler, you got a phone call? Oh. That. Hold on a minute. You got to make sure that if you're going to be interacting with someone, communicating over the phone, that you're using the appropriate tone of voice. However, that tone of voice also spills into when you're texting. Do you think texting has a tone of voice? Let's talk about that texting tone of voice, because nowadays, a lot of companies have moved to where they will send you a text and say, we're sending you this link for an interview. And we need you to respond back if you're interested in this position. So if I text you and say, I want you to interview for this job, let me know if you are available, your tone of voice will come back to me depending on your text. If you say, yes, I am available, I say, oh, they're interested and they are available. But if you say, yo, yay, okay, then I don't know how to respond. So you're probably not going to hear from me, or I'll probably take my link back. Depends on how you word it. Very good point, how you word it. So that's where it goes back. Stop and think before you speak, because once you word it, you can't unword it. So you want to stop, focus, and think before you speak. So I just wanted to touch on a couple of those. I won't go through all of them, but it's pretty self-explanatory. And we're going to go into some more forms of communication. So that's the verbal. Next slide, please. Now, tone of voice. I gave an example when I was yelling and screaming, because quite frankly, that drives me nuts. But it also affects how people perceive you. I may say, wow, they're that loud on the phone. We have cubes in my office. I mean, we really do. We have cubes. We have moved to this open space system where post-COVID, we didn't have doors or any of that. Ooh, that's the one good thing that might come out of all this. Maybe I'll get a door, because we didn't have a door. We didn't have any of those things. And you cannot have, it's hard to have a conversation if your office mate is louder than they should be, or if they carry on other conversations, or if they speak in tones. A good point. Tones can not only affect how people perceive you, but also their willingness to listen to you. I love that. That's a good one. That is really true. Tone is everything. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's not what you say, it's what people hear. So if I say, hello, how are you today? I'm very glad to meet you. I may sound genuine and you think I'm glad to meet you, but I say, how you doing? I'm so glad to meet you. It's all about the tone. It's all about the tone. So speak at a voice that obviously whomever you're speaking with can hear you, but also make sure that when you're speaking, it is genuine. Again, that authenticity, your authentic self shows up. Avoid using filler words. An example of a filler word. I'm very good. I'm a good speaker. So you ain't gonna be hearing. I ain't gonna be using filler words. Did I just use a bunch of filler words? So those filler words that man. Ooh. Avoid using those words. Let's go to the next slide. I want to make sure we have time for questions. Body language, so important. Again, not to go through all of them, but take a picture, take a look at these. And in the chat, just drop what you think the proper stance would be if you are waiting for someone for an interview, or if you're meeting someone for the first time, on a business meeting. Number 5. I like number 5. Number 5 is good. It's very, very neutral. Mm-hmm. Number 2 is pretty nice. It's, yes. 5 again. What's up with number one? Why I don't see any ones going in the chat. Sit upright, shoulders up straight. I like that one. Yay. Number two is good. What about one? Why don't I see any ones? What's up with one? You don't like one? You're in the interview and wait a minute. I can't do it like I'm serious. A professional came to interview me. I can't do it like she did it because I'm like, ooh, no, she didn't. I can't do it like that because it hurts me to hunch my shoulders that bad. But to me, that says I don't want to be bothered. You asking me these questions, you interviewing me, but I'm ready to go. So number one is closing themselves off. I love it. It absolutely does because she shut me down and I hurry up and got my questions knowing already, no, you ain't the one for this position, honey. Not for this opportunity. Arms crossed shows too serious. Arms crossed can also close you down. So be conscious that there are differences in some cultures that may be okay, but as a rule, when you're within the United States, or I'm gonna say when you're within BJC, because I ain't even going all across the state. If you're interviewing with anyone in BJC, I would highly recommend you not do this because you saw it in our presentation and we're presenting for BJC. Okay, so case closed. Next slide. Okay. Emails, really quick with emails, correcting grammar and spelling. The worst thing you could do is send someone an email saying, I really appreciate the opportunity that you're willing to interview me and you have your words misspelled. Or I look forward to speaking with you soon and your words are misspelled. You do spell check. And if spell check doesn't catch it, a lot of times, if I'm sending out a serious email, I will have my colleagues to look at it. I'll have someone to look at it for me because I'm not the best speller. And sometimes I think faster than I react. So if I type it really, really fast, I go back and proof it to make sure that it's okay, that it's concise, and I'm not saying too much. That old saying, you do too much. I'm making sure I'm not doing too much. I want to get right to the point, considering my audience and making sure that I'm getting it correctly. Okay, so know when emailing is appropriate. If I call you and say, hi, this is Jennifer with BJC School Outreach and Youth Development. Please give me a call. Here's my phone number. Give me a call and let's discuss X, Y, or Z. I'm waiting on a phone call. I didn't say email me, and I certainly didn't say text me. Don't make up your mind, oh, I got her phone number. I got a cell number. I'm going to text her. That happens a lot to me right now because we're in this COVID space, and I will give folks my cell number only because I'm not in my office. That doesn't mean I necessarily want you to use my cell number. Now, if we're on a call and we get disconnected, that's one thing. But if I email you and say, respond to this email, don't text me, respond to the email. Or if I text you and say, please give me a call, I text a professional. I'm serious. I was getting ready for a big presentation. I text this professional, please give me a call. We need to discuss this presentation. We will be going live real soon. I really need to talk with you. And he texts me back, what? Okay, fine. So I didn't tell him what I needed to tell him. And that my part of the presentation that was me, wasn't it? But just making sure that you are communicating professionally and that you're just listening, using those listening skills and being concise and considering your audience. So know when it is appropriate to be electronic. Sometimes you really need to talk on the telephone. And I stress this when I'm talking to youth, because for some reason, you all don't like those telephones. Want to text? You want to, FaceTime? Don't FaceTime me either. You want to do everything but hello, talking on the phone. Sometimes you have to do it. Okay, next slide. Sorry,
I'm in my 30s and I don't like to talk on the phone. But in a professional you've got to figure that stuff out.
Well, don't let the smooth taste fool you. I'm pretty far. Well, I ain't going there. But anyway, I like to talk on the telephone. Yeah, because that communication is very, very important. So know your audience, know who you're communicating with, and if it's appropriate, then talk on the phone. Make sure you give a proper greeting. I like that. You're absolutely correct. Active listening is meaning that active listening, but you're also actively communicating. You can't communicate effectively if you're not listening. You may miss something. So you want to concentrate on both the verbal and nonverbal cues. Align your message with the sender's ask or whatever they're asking you. Show respect and empower the sender. So when you're having a two-way conversation, it's definitely two-way. It's 50-50. You're going to listen about as much as you speak. And in some cases, depending on the circumstances, like I feel like I'm just talking. You're doing more listening than you're talking. However, if I've noticed that when I pause and ask the question, you are responding. So you are right on point. When I'm given the opportunity, you're responding. You're not, not butting in. You're being very appropriate and professional with your active listening. So next slide.
As I say, I'll also add on this one just how important the nonverbals, and I always call it kind of more tuition of like you can read the room and you can kind of tell what's going on without people spelling it out. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who are doing internships or even just newer folks on the job, I always tell my interns that I work with, like when they shadow me and we go on these meetings and there are lots of folks and lots of dynamics going on, it's really important for me to like do a debrief afterwards, right? To be like, so what did you see going on? How did, what kind of dynamics did you see there? And just, maybe there's some context that, they don't know. And so I kind of fill them in. And I always think that's really important because those are those skills that you can't learn unless you do them. And so I always bring that up. Not every manager or supervisor wants to debrief everything, and whatnot, but if they're open to it, I always offer that one as well.
And that's a very good point, because that goes into our next point when you talk about being aware. So when you're aware of yourself and your persona, then you're able to control it. So I always say your best way to figure out how you look under certain circumstances or how you react under certain circumstances is, number one, know your triggers, know what ticks you off and know how to control it. And know your facial expressions. And you can do that by looking in the mirror. Spend some time in the mirror. And if somebody says something to you that you like, you tend to be very expressive. But if they say something and you're trying to figure out what they're saying, do you look like number two, like, Or if they really say something that's out of the box, does it trigger you to be like number three? So you want to be self-aware, know your triggers, what sets you off. And there are times where you may interview with someone or you may be in a conversation and you may not agree 100% with what they're saying, or they may say something that takes you back. And you have to be able to control that with both your outward appearance and certainly with your tone of voice and how you're speaking. So knowing your triggers. Okay, next slide. We are going to get through this in 3 minutes or less, so you have a lot of time for questions. Okay, so some of the components of communication. Emotional intelligence. We just talked a lot about self-awareness. Treat and talk to someone like how you want to be treated, as if their roles are switched. I love that. I'm gonna save this chat because some of those points you all are pointing out some good, that is so on point. Treat people like they want to be treated. And then on the other hand of that, treat them like you want to be treated. So if you do both, then you'll be okay. Self-management. You are in control. You can't say, my bad, I messed up. That wasn't, no, that's on you. You are in control of yourself. So whatever the case, you got to take ownership. But when you do, whether it's communicating or any of the steps that Amanda and I have gone through, if you make an error, take ownership for that error. And I did say, once you say it, you can't take it back, but you can make it better if you apologize sincerely. And even when you're apologizing, it's all about that tone. It's all about that stance. So all of this comes together, even when you're trying to right a situation that you may have goofed up on. So being aware of yourself, self-management, and having emotional intelligence helps. So always try and represent yourself in the best manner and know what you look like when you're representing yourself in the best manner. So when I represent myself in the best manner, this is what it looks like, this is what I sound like, and this is how it feels. And if you're doing that and you're showing up and being your genuine self, we would typically put students in a breakout room and go through these scenarios. But for the lack of time, I want you, those of you that have your phones, just take a snapshot. Those of you that don't worry. This presentation is being recorded, but really take some time and then to visualize this for yourself. Because it's not a one size fit all. We're all different, but we all need to know these elements about ourselves, how we look when we're representing our best self, how we sound. And then you want to take personal ownership and develop a plan so that when you are in a situation to where you have a virtual interview, you have an in-person interview, you have an opportunity to interact with professionals, you can take personal ownership and make sure that you're practicing all of these elements that we were able to share with you today. And that you definitely are using your active listening skills. You're definitely showing up your authentic self, and you're all you have to do is accept the offer because you already got the job once they met you because you're bringing all of these things to the table. So that is the end of our formal presentation. We did good, Amanda. Let me see, I think we did good. Yeah, we got. So now let us hear from you. Come from behind those dark screens and click those cameras on. Questions that you have about BJC, questions that you have about anything that we have shared. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to say this to you too, because I just got off a call before this and I was just all besides myself because what do you mean I sat here and I talked to you for almost an hour and you don't know my name? So when you're communicating and doing all these things with folks and you have an opportunity to speak with people from organizations like BJC or from wherever, at least remember their names so that if you have a question or if you have to connect, now you have a connection within an organization that has over 30,000 employees, over 2,000 different job titles, two people that can kind of help you through the door. That's key. Now, I wish I could cover it. When I'm in a class, I will really erase now, what's my name? No, but make sure you get their names. Our names is our first dot, last name dot at bjc.org. Okay, questions. Wait, what happened to that question? Let's
say first one, what are the requirements to work at BJC as a college student?
Okay, so as a college student, the requirements are, I'll just give you the requirements in general. You have to be at least 18 years or older. You have to have a high school diploma or equivalency certification. The requirements are that you go through the process. You go online at bjcjobs.org. You find something that you think may be a good match for you. You apply. And if you get a hit, meaning that if there's a position that fits what you put in and your resume is up to date, you will get a response. And once you get the response, 99.9% of getting that job is what Amanda and I just went through with you. It's all about that interview. And it shows up in a couple of ways. Amanda mentioned you get that pre-screen call. When you get that pre-screen call, wow, you are well beyond a lot of people because that's key. That means they're interested in you. And beyond that, you want to make sure that you're interviewing and doing all the things that you need to do. I hope that answers your question. Okay.
So next one, what are some things a person has said or done during an interview that made you say, I have to hire this person?
Well, the one question that I always ask, and the one question that I always ask people is, tell me something about yourself. Because to me, when I ask you to tell me something about yourself, that's an opportunity for you to be authentic, for you to really connect, because I know you've already done your homework. Because when you have an interview, if I say my name is Jennifer Irvin and I work with BJC and I'm going to be interviewing you, the first thing you probably want to do, Google. Learn about it. So learn about something that, okay, I see she likes to travel and, so try and find something in common. So I look for commonalities. I look for confidence. I look for people that are authentic. I look for people that are on time. I look for all of those qualities that are very important to the overall success of the job. Now, I know that there are times that things may happen and you can't be on time. So in a case like that, I had a student that was an hour late for an interview for an internship, a paid internship. She still got that internship because she called me, let me know why she was delayed. And when she got there, she apologized and said, I'm sorry, I can't take away from being late, but I'm here now and I'm ready for my interview. I was like, ooh, confidence. So I hope that helps.
All right, next one. Are the credits transferable? We may need a little bit more context for that.
Are you talking tuition reimbursement or are you talking, I'm thinking maybe tuition reimbursement and or some of the classes, because we talked about in the video where she talked about taking those internal classes, those are transferable within BJC. So whenever we have the MA medical assisting program and we have the program for scrub techs, CSPD professionals, once you get those credentials, you can take them and move within positions within BJC, or after you fulfill your commitment for us getting you certified, you can take those credentials and go somewhere else. So yes, those stackable credentials that you can gain as an employee of BJC are definitely transferable. Now, when you talk about the courses that we have, like we do courses like Amanda and I just did a snippet of one of our courses, Professional Presence, It's not transferable where you can just say, okay, send me my transcript and I have this. However, it's transferable in that it's skills that will empower you to get to the next step. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. Are there psychology careers within BJC?
I love that, because one of the things that I tell my students all the time, and I work with students, I say, now, if you decide to go to a 4-year university, have a plan in place. And there are some degrees I tell them, don't go there. Psychology is a good degree, but with psychology, our psychology, if you're going to work as a psychologist, you have to have a doctorate degree. However, there are a lot of fields within psychology that students don't know about that can do well. So I've had students with psychology degrees shadow in child life services. So if you have a psychology degree, check into child life services, check into our chaplaincy program. There's a lot of things. People don't realize the value of having a psychology degree. Any allied health career, you are so very close to that career with having a degree in psychology. There are also teaching positions within BJC. I would say get in the door. Once you get your foot in the door, look at that career ladder and see what the requirements are. You can move among a lot of places with the psychology, a sociology, and some of those other degrees where people say, my students come back and say, Ms. Irvin, I got this degree, now what? And we've had a lot of good success in getting them into positions where they tend to do well.
Yeah, definitely. I went for anthropology, and that was definitely my father's question. And now what?
Education is something that once you get it, you cannot take it away. Thank you. I started grad school after I graduated, and that is a good point. So I'm thinking that you're the one with the psychology degree, and if that's your passion and that's your path, continue on it. One of my very first students, and I've been at this a while, one of my very first students when I started this work in career development, she got her degree in psychology. And now I've been at this work for going into 26 years. I've been with BJC. And she got her first degree was in psychology. I worked with her all throughout high school, et cetera. She graduated, got that undergraduate degree in psychology. And we had a conversation. She wanted a job. I said, no, you want to be a psychologist. That is your goal. And she went and got her graduate degree. Then guess what? Girlfriend went on back and got her doctorate degree. And she's always telling me how much she loves what she does. And so my message to you is find something that you're passionate about and don't let anything take you off of that road. If it takes you a long time to get there, take as long as it takes. Work part-time, go to school, use that tuition reimbursement, and continue to work on your goals. Because your best career is going to be something where you don't even feel like you're going to work. And I'm not trying to brag or boast or whatever, but anyone that knows me professionally will tell you I'm very passionate about the work I do, and I love what I do because I really feel like I get up in the morning like, oh, I'm getting paid to do this. And quite honestly, I say this and I mean it. The work and the investments that I'm able to make in students, don't be telling BJC this, but it's the truth. I would do it without pay because I'm passionate about it. And that's what you want to end up with. And that's something that all of us can do. Find what you like, start working on a goal, and you will get to where, okay, this is a good place for me. And BJC, with our 2,000 careers that we have, 2,000 different job titles, I assure you, there is probably not a lot of different careers that we don't have professionals doing within our organization. So that is my takeaway. Amanda, what do you want to say?
No, I think that's perfect. And we're actually right at 4. So I was going to hand it back over. So good timing.
Thank you both. That was amazing and very informative. I do have one follow-up question to the chat. Where can people go to see the full list of jobs available at BJC? And I know often we think of hospitals and the system that you have. I'm not in the medical field. I'm not a physician. I'm not a nurse, but I'm assuming you have thousands and thousands of employees. So there's probably a variety there to look at.
Amanda sends them to me. So Amanda, tell them.
I was going to say, I'm going to put in, we have kind of our general bjc.org/jobs. There you can search for jobs within different categories. So professional jobs, support services, allied health, nursing, those types of things. And then we're also working, I don't know if it's completely, ready to go for external, but our BJC learning and development folks have created these career maps that are amazing. And I'm sure that we will start sharing them with STL Youth Jobs and everybody when they're ready. But it basically takes you through, this is my entry, this is where I want to go. And then you click on it and it shows you exactly what you need to do, your education requirements, what lateral moves you would do, and all that kind of just amazing stuff, including videos that talk about a day in the life of these folks. So definitely that would be perfect once that's up and running. But I know that that's kind of a new initiative that we have, so I'm not sure if it's ready yet.
It is ready. I co-presented with Terry yesterday, and we highlighted it on the Missouri. We highlighted it yesterday, some components of it where you can tag and go external and internal. So visit our website. Visit our website, play around on it, and look for SABA, SABA, and some components that you can access outside of BJC will actually come up. And it's really cool. But also, if you go to the Nine Network, ninenetwork.org, and click on cool jobs within St. Louis, you will see some videos that our employees have put together. You'll also see videos where students are talking about how they got from point A to point B. I love that website because it really talks about, it's called Cool Jobs, and you'll see a lot of different jobs that typically people don't talk about within healthcare, but they're on that website as well. So a lot of resources there.
Thank you. This is very helpful. I know I have some big takeaways of stuff that we always want to remember and be reminding ourselves on a daily basis, no matter what point you're at in your career. So thank you for your presentation. I think we might even have some more follow-up questions after this, but we will be in touch, and we appreciate your time. This has been really meaningful.
All right. Well, thank you all. Enjoy your day and look forward to continuing to work with you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Guys.